I want to jump over to our individual season award winners. We've got a few differences. I think actually we have all differences. So I'll kind of let you give your take, and then I will go ahead and run through my list and see how the conversation goes, see where it goes.
Yeah, I believe Micah Parsons with the Cowboys is going to be my defensive rookie of the year, because Dallas is one of those teams where a player like him could take a bad defense and make them good. He sees the field really well. He's all over the field. He's good in pass coverage. He's good, playing the run. So I believe Parsons comes in, makes a huge change in the Dallas defense. Doesn't make them elite just yet. They still have other players that they need to play around him. But I think he does enough on that defense to make them a good defense. And definitely, if not win, he's going to be in that conversation. But I do believe he's going to win Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year for his performance there on the Dallas defense. So for my Offensive Rookie of the Year, I got Trevor Lawrence there. It's hard to go against that #1 pick. Based off of what I saw in the preseason, he's super accurate. But if I'm being honest, similar to last year, Burrow went #1. Herbert wound up winning that Offensive Rookie of the Year, but that's because, Burrow got hurt. So there is enough talent from the offensive players that were drafted where someone else could easily win that Offensive Rookie of the Year. I can't remember a time in all the years I've watched football that I thought that there's 5 quarterbacks that were drafted that could all have really good careers. So I think any one of those guys, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Fields, any of those guys could easily win this. But right now I'm picking Trevor Lawrence. They let him loose a little bit on that that preseason finale. He got a couple of deep bombs. It looked like they wanted to spread that ball out and let him just kind of air it out. And he was super accurate with those throws. So I've got him there. My Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett, is who I have there. He's been in the conversation for a few years now. I think this is his year. They did add some additional pieces on their defense that should help free him up, take away some double teams. So I've got Myles Garrett finally breaking through and winning that Defensive Player of the Year. My Offensive Player of the Year, Alvin Kamara. And this is because I believe he's going to get some additional volume there with Jameis. He's going to be Jameis Winston's favorite target. Kamara may be, he may be. I'm gonna okay. This is my another bold prediction. You asked me earlier if I was going to have any, so I'm going to throw this out there before we get to it. But I think Kamara could have 100 receptions this year.
That is bold. I think that's definitely a bold prediction. That he gets 100 catches. That would be a heavy workload considering how much he's going to run the ball too. That would definitely be a bold prediction. But if he does that, I agree with you hands down. He's the Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I do believe he's going to get close. He's going to be in that realm. I think there's going to be a lot of checkdowns. Jameis is going to check the ball down a lot. I believe that, with Winston working with Peyton's going to help him see that field a little bit better. Sean Payton, I'm talking about, and help him recognize when a play's not there, you get it to your playmaker. And that playmaker for him is Alvin Kamara. So I think Kamara is going to have a huge season. Unfortunately, I won't be able to pick him up in my fantasy league. Well, probably in ours. But my other one, I won't be able to get him because he's a keeper. But nonetheless, Kamara, Offensive Player of the Year. Comeback Player of the Year, my guy, my Niner guy, Nick Bosa, coming off that injury. I think he's going to get double-digit sacks easy. If he stays healthy, he's going to get a lot of QB pressures. He might be Defensive Player of the Year, but I'm not going to go that far just yet. I got him as my Comeback Player of the Year. And I've been saying this for weeks now. My MVP is Josh Allen.
Okay.
I think he might hit 40 touchdown passes this year. Probably going to throw for 5,000 yards. And he's got an additional receiver there to help him out.
Yep.
And Emmanuel Sanders, they still have Beasley. They still have Gabriel Davis. They still have Diggs. Their running backs aren't great, but you don't really need great running backs when you're a good running back as a quarterback, for one. I mean, you rushed for almost 500 yards last year and 8 touchdowns. So I've got Josh Allen as my MVP, just mainly based off of statistics. I mean, he put up great numbers last year. I think he's going to put up even better numbers this year.
Yeah, I can't argue with the fact that he put up great numbers, and I think he could obviously have an even better year this year. And I would not be shocked at all if Josh Allen won MVP. That's for sure. So I went with Patrick Mahomes simply because I think that their offensive line is going to be much improved, and I think that that's going to give him the ability to do even better than he normally does, if you can believe that that's possible. But I think it is, and that's why I went with Patrick Mahomes. But again, I would not be shocked if Josh Allen won MVP based off, like you said, his statistical output, because I think he's primed to have an even bigger year than he did last year. I just think that Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be on a mission this year, and that's what's going to drive that. So, but again, you can put Patrick Mahomes, as long as he's healthy, you could probably put him up there at the top of that list or in that conversation for the rest of his career. So I wouldn't be shocked if either one of those guys won, but I'm going to go with Mahomes. Going back to the top of the list, I originally had Micah Parsons as my defensive rookie of the year. For the same reason that you have him, he's going to stand out on that Dallas defense, which is not hard to do. He's going to have an opportunity to flash on the screen and make some big plays. He showed that in the preseason, that ability to do that as well. So I wouldn't be, again, surprised if he won. I went with Patrick Surtain the second because I think he's gonna have more opportunity to shine because of the division he plays in. And Denver's defense is really good, and I know it's harder to stand out on a good defense, but you got to pick on somebody or try to pick on somebody when you're going against a good defense. And I think that him being a rookie, he's going to get tested a lot early in the season, and he's going to have an opportunity to shine, come up with some interceptions, defensive pass breakups, and things of that nature. So I'm going with Patrick Surtain the second as my defensive rookie of the year. Again, I made a switch last minute on my pick here with offensive rookie of the year once the Patriots made their switch. I'm going to go with Mac Jones simply because I think not that he's more talented than Trevor Lawrence or anything like that. I think it's just his team's going to win more games, and that's going to look better on him. So that's why I went with him. I think Trevor Lawrence is probably going to put up better stats because his team's going to be behind and he's going to be throwing a lot more. But I went based off the fact that I think Mac Jones is probably going to have more wins, and that's why he'll probably win. He'll get a lot of credit for things that the coaching staff does for him. I went with Defensive Player of the Year. My guy, he's not my guy, but he is my guy because I really like him a lot. He won Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. I think he's going to just jump up and take Defensive Player of the Year this year. Chase Young from Washington. Obviously, we know all about him. He's a beast from the same school as Nick Bosa and his brother Joey Bosa. Out of the three, I think Chase Young, and I hate to say this because I love Nick Bosa, I think Chase Young is head and shoulders above those guys. I think it's going to come down to him and Aaron Donald. And the fact that Aaron Donald has won the last couple and he's always in that conversation, you know how it goes. A lot of these writers and things, they don't like to give it to the same guy over and over again, which is why, like, LeBron doesn't win the MVP every year. Patrick Mahomes doesn't win it every year. So I think that's going to play a factor as well. I also have a running back as my offensive player of the year, but it's Derrick Henry, just because I think he's going to continue on that surge that he's been on the last few years. In one of my bold predictions, we'll get to it, I don't think that any individual season records will be broken this year, but I think if there is one that will be broken, that's the one that will be broken, is the rushing record because of Derrick Henry and how he comes on at the end of every season. When that weather changes, he turns into a different animal. And, his production just goes up and up and up. So I have him as my offensive player of the year. Comeback player of the year was tough for me, but I'm going to base it off of just how gruesome Dak's injury was. I liken it, although it wasn't as bad, I liken it to Alex Smith's injury in the fact, he was hurt. His leg was broken pretty much in the same way, compound fracture, things like that. Alex Smith did not have a phenomenal year last year. He won some games. He made a difference for Washington. I wholeheartedly believe had he not played at all, they would not have made the playoffs. But he didn't have a phenomenal year, and he won Comeback Player of the Year based off of what he came back from. And I think that's why Dak wins this. Now, I think Nick Bosa has better, when you break it down, he's going to have a hell of a season. And probably, if there's a way to compare him, he will probably be more productive at his position than Dak will be at his position. Yeah. But I think based off number one, Dak's a quarterback, so he's going to get more of the glory and things like that when they do win. And the injury that he's coming back from is what's going to make him Comeback Player of the Year. And the fact that he's able to even get back on the field right now gives him a head start on that award. Because I'll be honest with you, when it first happened, I didn't anticipate him playing at all for the rest of last year or this year because it looked that bad. So the fact that he's back is something to be celebrated in itself. Even though I'm not a Cowboys fan, it's amazing to see him back so quick. So. And then, of course, like we talked about, I got Mahomes as my MVP. But really, you could probably call him and choose him for MVP every year. And I'm just going with him because I think he's going to have a phenomenal year behind that revamped offensive line.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to piggyback on your Patrick Surtain pick. Patrick Surtain the second. I think he's a great player, and he definitely has the chance to be great and win that defensive rookie of the year. And truth is, for Denver's sake, I hope he does, because if I'm a fan of Denver right now, I'm still a little bit upset that I picked a defensive back over a quarterback, namely Mac Jones, who was available when they picked. So yeah, I get it. They got Bridgewater, but Bridgewater and Locke are not Mac Jones. By the end of their careers, they won't even be in the same realm stats-wise. And, so for Denver's sake, I hope Patrick Surtain II does play really well. I hope that he gives them an amazing boost on defense, because otherwise it's a wasted pick, in my opinion. They should have went quarterback. If I'm a fan, I agree that even general managers around the league, probably were shocked that Denver didn't go quarterback. I'm not sure what Elway was thinking, but I certainly would have went for Mac Jones when I picked.
Let's go ahead and move. Go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah. Mr. Kraft, famous Jameis. He's my guy. Listen, my bold prediction is that Jameis Winston is going to resurrect his career this year. He's going to throw for 5,000 yards, 32 plus touchdowns, and less than 12 interceptions. So I said earlier, reduce it by half. So if he could do that, he's gonna have a great season. And right now, this is a bold prediction, but once the season starts, if at the end of the year he winds up with these numbers, everyone's going to say, well, he's always had the talent to do it, because he does. He's got the talent to do it. He's got an arm. He knows football. I mean, he is a champion. He won a national championship. He hasn't won a championship at the NFL level, clearly, but, he knows how to win football games. So I'm not writing him off just yet. He's got a great coaching system over there in New Orleans. And I just think that this is his opportunity to resurrect his career and show everyone that he can be an elite quarterback in this league, or at least, produce elite numbers. Just a little better sound decision making, and that's really the difference. His decision making, because his arm talent is there, and that's my bold prediction. Famous Jameis, Mr. Kraft, baby.
I agree that he could definitely do this. He's got the talent for it. If you remember when he came out of FSU,
Yeah.
And it was him and Mariota was the debate. I'm not a Florida State fan, by the way. I hope they get whooped on tomorrow when they meet up with the Irish. Go Irish!
Yeah, buddy.
But I've always been a fan of Jameis Winston's talent. When he was a freshman at Florida State, I saw him do things that most quarterbacks dream about doing, and he did it on a regular basis at Florida State. Granted, he had a lot of talent around him. The talent he was playing was probably not on his level, but I definitely know that he's uber talented. I between those two, I predicted that he would have a better career than Marcus Mariota, and I think to this point he might have had a slightly better career, but it's really still a toss-up. He has a prime opportunity with Sean Payton to, like you said, resurrect his career and turn it around. And if he's able to do that, then New Orleans is right back where they were, last year.
They don't miss a beat.
They don't miss a beat. So as far as based off of his prior performance, I agree this is a bold prediction. But if you just go off of his talent, it would not surprise me if he did do this. But the best prediction of future behavior is past behavior, and based off his past behavior, this would definitely be a bold prediction. So.
I think Jameis even opens up a little bit more of the playbook for Peyton, given his arm strength compared to Drew Brees. Now, he's definitely not a Hall of Famer like Drew Brees, so I'm not saying that he's more talented or a better quarterback than Drew Brees, but, he definitely has a stronger arm than Drew Brees. And I think that element of his game is going to be pivotal for Sean Payton, in the play calling. And I think it's going to really open up Sean Payton's creativity to help unleash Jameis Winston, and that's going to play a big role in his ability to reach that 5,000 yards and that bold prediction of mine.
Yeah, I agree with that as far as he adds an element of the deep ball. If you watched that last preseason game where he basically won the job, those 2 touchdown passes that he had, I think really is exactly what you're talking about. And
probably secured his job.
It gives Sean Payton that ability to dial up those plays that he hadn't called probably in 4 or 5 years, so that opens up a whole new realm of his playbook and could possibly, again, give New Orleans that added dimension that they were missing to keep them, like we said, where they're at, and they don't miss a beat. Again, until I see it, it's hard to say that it'll happen. So again, I think for now it's still going to be a bold prediction, but who knows? Maybe halfway through the season, this becomes what's expected of him because of how well he's playing. So.
I'm just going to tell you right now, stash him on your fantasy roster, bro.
Yeah, I got another quarterback in mind to stash. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and move over to my bold predictions. I've been telling you this since way early in training camp. I think that Ben Roethlisberger is not the starter for the Steelers at the end of the season, and it doesn't have anything to do with injury. I think Dwayne Haskins is going to be the starter for the Steelers by midseason. I could be wrong. I'm just basing it off the fact that his age obviously gives him more upside than Big Ben. Big Ben has all the experience. He has all the accolades. As I mentioned earlier, he's a warrior on the football field. But I think that Mike Tomlin at some point realizes as long as Dwayne Haskins keeps progressing like he has been and like what I've been reading, I think at some point he just basically takes the job from Ben Roethlisberger because he's in a much better position than he was in Washington. You got to remember, this guy is super talented. He was not a number one overall pick, but he was a first-round draft pick. He played really well when he was at Ohio State, so he's got the talent. It's just a matter of him being in the right position, I think, and being with Mike Tomlin, who's a no-nonsense kind of coach. Again, that's something I think Dwayne Haskins needs, and I think it's going to pay off for him. Again, that's why they call these bold predictions, because I'm probably wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think you're probably wrong about that one. If Roethlisberger's healthy, there's no way he's getting benched for Dwayne Haskins. there's not a lot of quarterbacks that I would bench a healthy Roethlisberger for, let alone Dwayne Haskins. So, it's definitely bold. It's definitely bold. Haskins does have some talent. Tomlin is a great coach. I just don't see any need. If Roethlisberger is healthy and they're winning games, I couldn't imagine Tomlin saying, "Here, let me throw this wrench, in our season here. Let me go ahead and just kind of rock the boat while we're winning games." If they're losing games, yeah, I mean, I could see that. But if they're making a playoff push with Roethlisberger, it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense to make a switch at quarterback with Haskins. If it was a rookie quarterback coming in, maybe someone they drafted this year, like if they had drafted Trey Lance or Mac Jones or Fields or someone, it doesn't make any sense to me to do it with Haskins, who's already been in the league a few years and hasn't really shown much on the field. If they're losing games, possibly. If they're winning games and Roethlisberger's healthy, I mean, again, I'm no head coach, but it just wouldn't make any sense to me to, rock that boat.
No, I definitely agree. And if they start out like they did last year, obviously this prediction is not going to happen at all.
Yeah, let them know.
I don't anticipate that, though. I think that they start out about 500, and that's why they make the switch, in my opinion. Of course, obviously, if they're going 9-0, whatever, at this point in the season, they're 8-0, whatever it is, by week 9, 7-1, something like that, then I agree with you. They're not going to make the switch just to make the switch and rock the boat. But I don't think, as much as I trust their defense and I think that they're going to have, a good finish the season out well, I think it's very possible that they start out on a rocky road, getting used to the new pieces on the offensive line, things like that. Some new roles for different players. So, I think they're moving Juju back to the slot, moving Claypool out to the outside. So going to be a little adjusting, and I think that could be something that they hit some stumbling blocks to start the season. Although their defense is going to be really good, I think on offense they may hit some hurdles, and that opens the door up for Dwayne Haskins to move in there. So again, it is definitely a bold prediction. And when I thought about it, I was like, "Do you really want to say this?" But yeah, I think it's definitely possible if they start out, 500, 4-4, something like that. I could see them making the switch if they feel Haskins is going to give them more on offense.
Yeah, let's just make clear, folks. This is a bold prediction.
Exactly. And then I'll go on to my second one here. And again, I made this one after the Patriots made their switch. I think 3 rookie quarterbacks are going to start a playoff game this year. As I predicted earlier, I think Justin Fields ends up being the starter for Chicago. I think Trey Lance takes over at some point for the 49ers. And then obviously we know Mac Jones is going to be the starter for New England. And I think that all 3 of those teams, Fields is the wild card, but I think definitely the Patriots and the 49ers make the playoffs. And if the Bears make that switch early enough in the season, I think that Fields gets them over the hump and gets them in the playoffs as well. So that's another bold prediction I have. I think 3 rookie QBs start a playoff game, and I'm going to predict that at least one of them wins at least one playoff game, and that's my man Trey Lance. So
yeah.
We know this year is the biggest season ever. They got 17 regular season games, so that adds an extra year. Not extra year, but an extra game for players to add stats and things like that. I'm going to go with another bold prediction. I touched on it earlier. I think that 0 single season individual records get broken this year, even though there is an extra game. As I mentioned, the only one I think would probably be in jeopardy, if there is going to be one that's broken, will be the rushing record for Derrick Henry, because he was so close last year and the year before that. So if any of them get broken, I think that's the one that's in jeopardy. But I honestly think, even though there is an extra game, I think teams are going to, I hate to use the term, but I think teams are going to load manage at times. And players are not going to be on the field as much during the beginning and middle part of the season to get those extra stats to put them up over those and break those records that are out there. I could be wrong, but again, I just think because there's an extra game, teams have to think about managing their players and their playing time a little differently. And you're gonna see players when the game is out of hand, it's going to be kind of like college, where if a game gets out of hand, they're going to start taking players out. Whereas normally your starter stays in the game for pretty much the entire game, no matter whether you're winning or not. But I think you're going to see some strategy change around that, which is going to lead to none of the records being broken. And then the last one here,
Yeah.
I don't know how bold it is. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying I like the rookie quarterbacks making the playoffs. I think all 5 of those first-round rookie quarterbacks that were drafted are going to have good, if not great, careers. And this is probably the strongest quarterback draft class that I've ever witnessed drafted. I can't wait to see the next 5, 10 years, 15 years of them playing football on their respective teams. But I think that each one of the teams that drafted these quarterbacks, Lawrence, Wilson, Lance, Fields, and Mac Jones, they all got studs, man. And to me, this is probably the strongest draft class I've ever seen. And then the preseason play from each one of these guys, kind of just solidified that for me, because they all played really well in their own right, and there's clearly going to be deficiencies, coming from college to the NFL, but they all played well. They all have adjusted well. There's a lot of excitement around them. So I think that's a good prediction there. It's a very high possibility that 3 rookies wind up making the playoffs, and even one of them wins. Hopefully Trey Lance is the one that wins that one, and they go even deeper on into the playoffs and into a Super Bowl victory. But, we'll see. I'm not trying to fly the room on us.
Yeah, I agree. Please don't do that. And then my last bold prediction, I don't know how bold it is, but I think that in the biggest season ever, the Houston Texans finish 0-17. And
You'll be the first 0-17 team?
I think they'll be the first 0-17 team in the first 17-game season
I like
ever.
it.
So I think this, out of all of these, to be honest with you, I would say that this one's probably the least bold. It's probably the most likely is Houston finishes 0-17 because, frankly, they're just not good. And they've got so much turmoil going on with the quarterback and everything. They lost J.J. Watt, who, again, we talked about the Cardinals losing Larry Fitzgerald. They lost their leader. Houston lost their leader, too. So I think they're just a team that's in shambles right now, and it's going to take a while before they figure it out and get some new. They need to change the culture is what they need to do, and it takes a long time.
The Texans are the new Browns.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So, all right. So that's all I got with my bold predictions. I know you had one earlier. You said Alvin Kamara hits 100 catches this year. I think that's a bold prediction too. So we'll see how that goes.
Really bold. But I don't think that it's out of the realm of possibility. I mean, truth is, he's the best receiver on their team right now.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to take that into consideration. I would agree. Obviously, you can't play Mike on the roster, who won't be there until midseason. So if then he might be out even longer than that. So, and we know that they had issues in the offseason where he basically doesn't want to be there in practice or anything like that anyway. Yeah. So who knows? He might figure out a way to not play the entire season and get out of there. So
yeah,
and that would be interesting too. Maybe that's another bold prediction. Can't play Mike, doesn't play any games this year. Hey.
Yeah, it's pretty bold.
All right. So that's all we got. We certainly appreciate it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and be on the lookout for us here in a couple of days when we give our week 1 preview, break down a few of the games and give our picks for the week, as well as a couple of fantasy predictions and things like that along the way. So again, I appreciate your time, bro. It was always good talking to you.
Yeah, man, it's good chatting with you as always.
I love talking football with you. So we'll get together soon. I will see you at the fantasy draft in a couple of days. And everyone, thanks. I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you guys soon.